My name is Calvin, and I'm 25. What I'm about to share happened about 6 months ago, and to this day, it still shakes me to my core. I had just moved to a small town in Minnesota for a new job. I didn't know anyone, so on weekends, I would either explore the area or scroll mindlessly through social media and dating apps. Eventually, I re-downloaded Tinder. I wasn't looking for love, just company, distraction, maybe someone to hang out with. After a few days of swiping, I matched with a woman named Brielle. Her pictures were stunning. Long black hair, green eyes, confident smile. She looked like the kind of girl you'd assume was out of your league. So when she messaged first, just a simple, "Hey," I was instantly hooked. We chatted for about an hour. She was flirty, witty, and even dropped subtle hints about wanting to hang out sometime soon. I figured I had nothing to lose, so I asked if she wanted to meet up that night. To my surprise, she said yes. Her suggestion? Marlow Park. She claimed she loved night walks, and that the park near her place was quiet and peaceful at night. That should have been the first red flag. Who meets in a dark park for a first date? But something about the way she asked made it seem normal, like it was just her vibe. She even sent a Google Maps pin of where to park. We agreed to meet at 10 p.m. Around 9:40, I left my apartment, took the 15-minute drive, and arrived at Marlow Park a little early. It was colder than I expected, and the lot was empty except for my car. The only light came from a flickering street lamp at the edge of the lot. I texted her, "Here." She replied, "Walk past the pond. I'll meet you at the benches." I could hear the water as I followed the winding path. The park was eerily quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but unsettling quiet. Every sound, my footsteps, the wind, the occasional crack of a twig, felt louder than it should have. Eventually, I reached the benches. No one there. I texted again. "I'm at the benches." No reply. I waited, checking my phone every 30 seconds. After 5 minutes, I texted, "Still coming?" Another minute passed before I got her response. "Yeah, bathroom. Be there in a second. Don't go anywhere." I scanned the park. In the distance, maybe 100 feet away, I spotted the small, windowless brick restroom building. One light above the doorway flickered on and off. I decided to stay put. But something felt wrong. I couldn't explain it. The longer I sat, the more I felt exposed, like someone was watching me. I turned to glance behind the bench toward the line of trees. Nothing but shadows. Then I felt my phone buzz again. It was a new message from Brielle. "Come to the bathroom." I frowned. Weird. I typed, "Why?" But before I could hit send, another message came in. "Just come. I have something for you." I stared at the screen. I have something for you. It didn't sit right. Still, I stood up. Curiosity and stupid bravado pushed me forward. As I walked toward the bathroom, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. I slowed down, footsteps crunching on the gravel path. I wasn't even sure why I kept going. I called out softly, "Brielle." No response. I pushed the door open slowly. Inside, it was pitch dark, except for the faint blinking of the dying light outside. The air smelled of mildew and something metallic. There were 2 stalls, both doors slightly open. I took one step inside and whispered again, "Brielle?" Then a sound, a footstep, a shuffle from the far stall. My breath caught in my throat. Someone was in there. Not thinking, I backed out and let the door close behind me. I didn't care anymore. I was leaving. As I turned around, I froze. A figure stood in front of me. Not Brielle, a man. He was wearing a gray hoodie pulled tight around his head, casting a shadow over most of his face. In his hand was something long and metallic, what looked like a tire iron. "Looking for Brielle?" he asked. His voice was mocking. Cold. I took a step back, but he mirrored me, stepping forward. I think I got the wrong place," I stammered. He smiled, a twisted, half smile. "Number you didn't." I turned and bolted, sprinting back toward the lot without even looking behind me. I heard his footsteps pounding behind me. He was fast. My heart thudded louder than my feet. I don't remember how I made it, but I reached my car, yanked the door open, and slammed it shut. Locked it. Just as I reached for the ignition, I looked up, and he was at my window, staring in. He banged once, twice, then grinned again. I fumbled with my keys, got the car started, and peeled out of that lot so fast I almost crashed into the ditch. I drove straight home, locked my apartment, and spent the next hour checking every window. I never went to the police because I didn't know what I could even report. I didn't know the guy's name. I didn't even know if Brielle was real. Out of dumb curiosity, I went back on Tinder the next day. Her profile was gone. But that wasn't the end. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Had fun the other night. Want to play again?" I never replied. I changed my number the next day. Deleted Tinder. Deleted all dating apps. And I've never set foot in Marlow Park again. Before we dive into the next story, if you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell icon so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. Your support truly encourages us and helps this channel continue to grow. And don't forget to share these stories with your friends and family. Thank you. I was 24 and had just moved to a new city, Cleveland, for work. It was my first time living completely alone, and between the long hours at the office and the occasional loneliness of solo living, I downloaded Tinder just to see who was around. I wasn't looking for love, more like company. Someone to talk to. Maybe someone to kill a boring Saturday night with. It didn't take long before I matched with someone who, frankly, looked out of my league. Her name was Lana. Blonde hair, big blue eyes, perfect smile. She was exactly my type, and to my surprise, she messaged me first. Her opening line was, "You look like trouble," followed by a winky face. I played it cool. I responded with a generic line, and soon we were chatting like old friends. Her replies were fast, flirty, and she seemed genuinely interested. She told me she was 23, had just moved back in with family, and was looking to get out of the house more often. That night, the conversation turned more playful, then slightly sexual. By midnight, she asked if I wanted to meet up. "Where are you thinking?" I asked, heart racing. "There's this cool abandoned warehouse near where I live," she wrote. "We can hang out there. I know it sounds sketchy, but it's really chill. I go there sometimes just to think. It's totally safe." It did sound sketchy, but part of me liked the thrill of it. Besides, I'd be driving, and I wasn't going unarmed. I kept pepper spray in my glove compartment, a habit from growing up in a rough neighborhood. I got the address and plugged it into maps. It was about a 12-minute drive to the industrial edge of the city, past shuttered mechanics and graffiti-covered walls. The neighborhood didn't scream danger, but it also didn't scream comfort. As I pulled up, I saw the warehouse, a massive brick building with a cracked parking lot and faded paint. A section of the loading dock had been fenced off with chain link, but the side gate was wide open. There were 2 cars in the lot. One looked like an older Honda Civic. I figured one must be Lana's. I texted, "Hey, I'm here." A minute later, she replied, "Come around back. There's a metal staircase that leads up to the 2nd level. I'm inside the main room." I walked cautiously, my phone flashlight guiding the way. The metal steps creaked loudly as I climbed. At the top was a large sliding door, partially open. I stepped inside. The room was big and mostly empty. Old office chairs, broken desks, and scraps of tarp littered the floor. A single hanging bulb flickered in the corner. That was the only light. "Lana!" I called out, voice echoing. No answer. I texted again. "I'm inside." "Where are you?" Seconds later. "Come down the hallway to the right. I'm in the last room." I turned my flashlight toward the hallway she mentioned. Long, narrow, and dark as hell. Something about the sudden quiet gave me chills. I debated turning around, but curiosity pushed me forward. Each step echoed like thunder. The corridor smelled like mold and burnt wood. As I neared the end, I saw a faint light leaking from the last room on the left. I stepped in. The room was completely empty. Just four walls, a collapsed shelf in the corner, and a shattered window. No Lana. That's when I heard it. Quick, light footsteps behind me. I turned fast, heart pounding, but the hallway was empty. I wasn't imagining it. I texted again. "Hey, what's going on? I'm here, but you're not." No response. A few seconds later, I heard the echo of whispered voices. Not one, but two or three. They were close, and they were coming from deeper inside the building. That was enough for me. I turned to leave, but as I stepped back into the hallway, the power suddenly cut. That single flickering bulb, gone. Complete darkness. Panic surged through me. I reached for my flashlight, but just as I did, a loud bang echoed from behind me. Then the unmistakable sound of fast-running footsteps. I ran. I didn't care who or what was behind me. I just sprinted back down the hallway, crashing into the open room, nearly tripping over the metal doorway as I launched myself down the stairs. In the distance, I heard yelling, 3 distinct male voices. One of them shouted, "Did he see us?" I dove into my car, slammed the lock button, and reversed out so fast I nearly clipped the curb. Driving with shaking hands, I made it back to my apartment in record time. Only when I was safe behind locked doors did I check my phone. I had 3 new texts. "Where'd you go? Come back." "I'm sorry, they got excited. We were just going to scare you a little." No hard feelings, right? I blocked the number instantly. It was only then that I noticed something deeply unsettling. Lana's Tinder profile was gone. Not unmatched. Deleted. Vanished. I knew what that meant. Whoever was behind this had used a fake profile, possibly stolen photos, and I had walked straight into it. The worst part? That second car in the parking lot? It wasn't there when I left. That meant whoever else was involved had probably left on foot or stayed behind. I never found out who they were or what they actually wanted. Maybe it was a mugging. Maybe worse. All I know is that I came within seconds of something terrible, and I didn't even realize it until it was nearly too late. Now, whenever someone mentions meeting up with a Tinder match in an odd place, an alley, a park, an abandoned anything, I don't just shake my head. I tell them this story, and I tell them they're lucky if they never have one like it of their own. I never imagined something as casual as a Tinder date could nearly cost me my life. My name's Tyler. I'm 26, and this happened just 6 months ago when I matched with someone who, on the surface, seemed too good to be true. Spoiler alert, she was. Her name was Marina. That's what it said on her profile anyway. She was listed as 24, brunette, and had this effortlessly natural look in her photos. No heavy makeup, just jeans and sweatshirts. The kind of girl who looked like she'd rather be at a coffee shop than a club. Her bio was short and kind of funny. Something about loving bad horror movies and pineapple on pizza. We started chatting on a Wednesday night. The conversation felt smooth and natural. No awkwardness, no red flags. She told me she was new to the area, staying temporarily, while helping out a relative who'd had surgery. She didn't know many people yet, and wanted to meet someone chill to hang with. That's where I came in. We chatted for about an hour that first night, then again the next evening. She was flirty but not over the top. When she suggested meeting in person, I agreed. I figured we'd grab coffee, maybe walk around. But then she proposed something unusual. "There's this rooftop deck in the Midtown Plaza garage," she said. "No one's ever up there at night, and you can see the whole city skyline. I like to go there to think." It was definitely odd, but also kind of romantic in a low-budget indie film kind of way. I asked if she felt safe meeting there. She laughed. "I'd be more worried about you," she texted with a winking emoji. That should have been the first flag. Instead, I responded, "Fair enough. I'll meet you there at 9. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. That was my first mistake. I drove to the Midtown Plaza garage a little after 8:50 p.m., parked on the 6th floor, and took the ramp up to the rooftop. It was colder than I expected, wind whipping between the half-empty levels of concrete and steel. Only 2 other cars were up there, one black SUV parked near the stairwell, and a dark red sedan near the far edge of the deck. I texted her, "Here." Her reply came a few seconds later. "Already up top? Come find me." I looked around. No one was visible. I started walking toward the SUV, but no one was inside. Then I looked at the sedan. It was running, lights on low beam. Still, no one is in the driver's seat. "Marina!" I called out, feeling a little silly. No response. My phone buzzed again. Another message from her. "I'm inside the red car, just slide in." I hesitated. That chill in the air didn't feel like just wind anymore. It felt like my gut was trying to scream at me. I took another cautious step forward, glancing around the empty rooftop. There was no sign of anyone else. I approached the passenger side door. The window was tinted. I reached for the handle. Locked. Then the driver's side door opened slowly. A figure stepped out. It wasn't Marina. It was a man, tall and thin, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. His face was partially obscured by the hood, but I could see the pale skin and scruffy jawline. "You, Tyler?" he asked casually. I froze. "Where's Marina?" "She's inside," he said, jerking his thumb toward the back seat. "She's waiting for you." His voice was wrong. It was too calm, too flat. I didn't move. Then I noticed something. The car didn't have license plates. "Look," I said, stepping back. "This doesn't feel right. I think I'll just leave." From behind me, I heard rapid footsteps. I turned and saw another figure coming from the stairwell, dressed in black, holding something long and metal, a tire iron. I sprinted. They shouted, cursing as I bolted toward the ramp. My shoes scraped against the concrete as I descended the levels, not daring to stop. I could hear them chasing me, their footfall slamming against the concrete just a few beats behind. I flew down from the rooftop to the 7th level, then the 6th. At some point, I nearly slipped making a turn, but caught myself on a support beam and kept going. My car was on this level. I hit the button on my fob as I ran, praying the lights would blink and guide me. I saw it. My gray Corolla flashed once, sitting right by the elevator bank. I could hear them still above me, yelling to each other, their footsteps closing in. I dove into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut, locking it with a loud click. Fumbling with the keys, I started the engine just as one of the men appeared in the rearview mirror, running down the ramp. I reversed hard, nearly clipping the wall behind me. Then I slammed the gear into drive and floored it. Tires squealed against concrete as I sped toward the exit. In the mirror, I saw them slow down, then stop, watching me leave. I didn't stop driving until I was halfway across town. At home, hands shaking, I checked my Tinder. Marina had unmatched me. I still had her number saved, so I tried texting. No reply. I tried calling. The call went straight to a generic voicemail message. Not a female voice, a robotic one. I copied the number into Google. Nothing. I pulled up her profile pictures and ran them through reverse image search. Stock photos. Every single one. That wasn't a person. It was bait. I reported the profile to Tinder, blocked the number. Then I sat there in the dark, replaying the sound of those footsteps, the tire iron, the hooded face asking, "You Tyler?" I don't know what would have happened if I got in that car. I don't think I was meant to get out again. For weeks after, I'd check over my shoulder in parking garages, take elevators instead of stairs, and avoid rooftop levels entirely. I told one close friend, who insisted I call the police, but with no plates, no names, no assault, and no evidence. What could I really do? I never used Tinder again. There are lots of monsters in the world. Some wear masks, some hide behind screens, but the ones that smile and invite you to just slide in. Those are the ones that don't need to hurt you to change you forever.